The collateral benefit of having more than adequate confidence in your own ability to get the job done is going to produce an above average level of consistency. You're going to experience having a different level of success because you can complete the task at hand, especially when you have a plan and a procedure to put the processes in place. You just got to do more than commit to things. There has to be follow-up and follow through. You're being able to follow direction and adhere to certain instructions. There has to be more work and will than just wish and want. It's going to take a whole lot more than positive affirmations and ambitious assumptions. You're going to have to do something. Even when there is something in your way, something wrong, something not right, something else, something other than what you expected. Because there's always going to be something that needs to be done, even and especially when you don't feel like doing anything. Some things you can't afford to just skip over. Some things can't be neglected. You need a technique, a method or a routine that becomes habit and is developed into the determination and discipline to do what has to be done deliberately, where no doubt or being discouraged can do anything to deter you from pursuing it. The repetition and specific implementation of steps and strategies you employ as a system should be designed and developed to ensure that you are able to do everything that you set out to do. The reason? Well, the reason respects your decision to debate how it can be done. But the results, they just prefer you doing it. There was a time when fear was a valid obstacle. The opposition was enormous and you weren't open to seeing you as being able to overcome it. So you did everything but what you had to, needed to, or even wanted to because you didn't think or believe that you should or would be able to. It's time for that fear to be over and done with. It's time for you to take into consideration that you would never be able to convince them or you unless and until you change what before now was the biggest reason you weren't able to finish before. You not seeing that there was a way to and only seeing what you had to do as being so very hard. You don't often realize that you are and have everything that you need to do what God has instructed or inspired inside of you. In fact, once you realize that there is nothing or nobody capable of mounting an obstacle that can interfere or interrupt what God has already said, you'll admit and acknowledge that you can achieve it. And the action to do so will be in effect instantly. And you'll accept that it could have been that from the very start. But so far, you've paid attention to mess. You spent time on nonsense. You bought into drama, invested heavily in chaos, and traded value for very unimportant people, places, or things that were only going to subtract and take away from the more that you've been meaning to get. And there's no telling how much that lost you. The energy, the emotion, the education, the experience, the effectiveness, and the expression of the self that you should have been satisfied with being. Yep, that's what all of that cost you. Now, there's a world that wants you to settle for less, take on more than what you should have, to work harder than ever, only to get what they deem or feel like you should have because, according to them, you're not the perfect that they say that you should be. But you have to decide to accept what they say is the truth, to allow their labels and definitions to be the ones associated with you, and to ascribe to the limitations and parameters that they choose to confine you in. Or you could leave. You could let go of holding on to a yesterday or a past or anything before now that no longer suits the you that you have in mind to become. The fact and truth of the matter is that you are who casts the deciding and defining vote in support of or in opposition to whether or not you are going to be the responsible, accountable person that stands and stays on whatever platform changes things. But you should make that decision soon. You won't always have time to see it done. And why waste a now? Waiting for a then that might not ever come because there will always be a something in the way, or something not ready, or something that you weren't prepared for, or a something that you can't explain. You have breath, you have a belief, and you have a better understanding of what blocked you before. What broke you, that's all behind you. And that's the only something that you cannot change. It's time to set up that system. Time to create your rules, establish your limits, erect your standards, and to really stand on business. Time to treat what has to be done like mama treated the food that she prepared. Whatever you put on your plate is what you better daggone finish. It's time for when you say that you're not, you actually don't. And whatever you say that you will, you really do. It's time for your word and the way you live to reflect the expectation and experience that you want to have for yourself in this world. It's time for you to have the control and say so over what you manifest and the way that you move. What has to be faced, when it's time to face it, you'll confront it, deal with it, and do the thing that you should do next. For what reason? Because you now realize that life is not about you doing what's right or what you think or even what everyone else is. It's about you doing something, one thing after another, for as long or as however many times it takes until you get something done. It's really about the fact that you did something. It's not even that you did it your best. You should finish what you start. Do what you said. You should give it a go. Be yourself. Try. You're not supposed to know all the reasons or why this or why that. The reason that you do, the reason that you get, the reason that you win, the reason that you succeed, the reason that you finish, the reason that you overcome or that you get through it, it's because you choose to. It's because you make it a priority, a mandate, a standard, and anything in the way is a deal breaker and not going to stop you because you say so. And that's why.